I suppose none of us like telemarketers, but let me tell you about one telemarketer you need to hang up on every single time. We've been talking about some things in James chapter 1 about trials and temptations, and really those two words are closely related to one another. And in verse 12 of James 1, it tells us, "Blessed is the man who endures temptations." And often we define that as the internal problems that we have, because you look a little earlier in the chapter, it talks about trials, and that is often defined as the external problems that we have. And the two words are very closely related to one another in English and also in the original language, because they have a similarity of meaning in the sense that often the way we deal with external problems reflects how we deal with internal problems. So we need to have a game plan, an approach to deal with temptation. And specifically, as we think about temptation to sin, the word that's used here is also found in Mark 1 and in Luke 4 when it talks about Jesus being tempted. In fact, that seems to be a very key idea that James, through the Holy Spirit, is addressing right here, because the word temptation, tempt, or tempted is used 6 different times just in 3 verses, not much more than a sentence or two. And as we think about that concept of temptation, one thing that we need to understand is what verse 13 says. It begins by saying, "Let no one say when he is tempted." Look at that for just a minute without even going any further in the verse. When he is tempted. Temptation is not a if, perhaps. Temptation is a when. It's going to happen. We're going to face it just like Jesus did. But don't say that temptation is sinful, because Jesus was tempted, but he didn't sin. We can be tempted without sinning, but it's when we are tempted that the devil is trying to solicit us. The devil is the ultimate telemarketer. He's relentless, and he will solicit us, and that's kind of the meaning of the word. He will solicit us over and over and over to sin. Don't listen, don't give in, hang up.